Just before midnight on 14th of April 1912, RMS Titanic struck an iceberg, and in the early hours of 15th of April, sunk beneath the waves. Somewhere in the region of 1,500 lives were lost. Actress and socialite Dorothy Gibson had been aboard the Titanic that fateful night, accompanied by her mother. They were returning to America from a 6-week vacation in Italy, and Gibson was playing a game of bridge in the ship's lounge when she heard a long, drawn, sickening scrunch. Gibson, her mother, and 2 of her game partners survived, fortunately, escaping aboard lifeboat number 7, the first to be launched. Less than a week later, though, Gibson was back to work at the Eclectic Film Company, New Jersey, where she not only starred in a one-reel drama based on the disaster, but wrote it as well. Based loosely on her own experiences, the story of Saved from the Titanic was told largely in flashback, with Gibson's character having survived the sinking and had a romance narrative with a duty-bound sailor in the Navy weaved throughout. The costume she wore in the film was the same white silk evening dress, cardigan and coat she had worn on the night of the sinking itself. An authentic detail, but one might suspect a slightly harrowing one for Gibson. The person who requested that she take part in this project was likely the producer she was having an affair with, which seems a little callous of him. Gibson was reported as having noticeably been suffering from trauma, which is hardly a surprise, and I wonder if it is any coincidence that this was one of her last films. Saved from the Titanic was released on 14th of May 1912, exactly 1 month after the Titanic disaster, but although it was the first film to represent the Titanic disaster on screen, it was not the only one released in 1912. A few months after it, in August, came the German In Nacht und Eis, In Night and Ice, a disaster film following the ship from leaving port until only lifeboats are left floating on the waves. It, unlike Saved from the Titanic, survives, is complete, and can be watched online. Then, a little later, in October, came the French film La Hantise, The Obsession, although this seemed to be more about palm reading than the actual maritime disaster. It only partially survives. Sometimes I leave these lost film discussions on the hope that films will be recovered, but in the case of Saved from the Titanic, this seems particularly unlikely, the last known copies having burned in the Eclair studio fire of March 1914.